This is Shawn Aiken, aka Snake Aiken, aka Snake Plissken, Escape from Marstown. I'm here today to discuss hip hop's growing generation gap. I'm a product of the old school, and today's new school hip hop has definitely gotten far away from what I'm used to, but I can still appreciate today's hip hop. So I'm just here to discuss how it's changed and chart some of the major moments that it changed and turned for the better or worse, depending on how you look at it. Let's talk about 30 years ago. I don't want to date myself too much here, but I got to start 30 years ago. Rockbox, Run DMC period. That was everything back in the day. Today, rap groups still have not, in my opinion, equaled their feats. They have not entertained to the extent that Run DMC has been able to. They haven't crossed genres. Rockbox, Run DMC was doing rock music along with their initial raps. So, in my opinion, they're the greatest group of all time, most influential group of all time. To back up my assertion, recently, Lil Jamar from the rap group Brand Nubians, he was just talking about Kanye West and him wearing skirts, and he was saying how, of course, that's whack, but he was talking about how Run DMC kind of set the standard for hip hop clothing because, they took the Adidas sweatsuits and the Kangols and the leather blazers and the Adidas, and they were kind of like endorsing products before even NBA basketball players of the modern era. So, we're going to start with Run DMC. They're not the first rap group, and they're arguably not the best, but I think they're the best, and for all intents and purposes, any real discussion about rap group, Run DMC, if it doesn't start out with Run DMC will come very shortly after the original. So the originals being Sugar Hill Gang and whoever, Funky 4 plus one more, Kumo D, Run DMC's coming right down the pike, and they were a new breed, new brand. The leather, the DJ, Jam Master Jay was one of the best, God bless the dead. DJ Run, the Reverend Run right now, he was the showstopper, the party starter, and his man DMC, he was just the perfect complement, not too loud, and he basically let Run the show, and then he filled in the blanks. So after Run DMC, we get a whole generation of rappers that use their energy and their influence and their artfulness, and they took it to another level. That's Rakim, Eric B. and Rakim, I should say. That's Public Enemy. That is Boogie Down Productions. These are some of the most influential, greatest groups of all time, and they were educators. These guys were articulate, intelligent, educated, although they might not have had college degrees, or many of them, I'm sure, didn't even graduate from high school. But, a lot of fans today even love Nas. Well, these were all Nas's influences and Jay-Z's influence, but you can hear it in Nas's rhymes more so than any rapper that's still rapping today currently. Nas is a direct descendant of Run DMC and Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One, Just Ice, and those guys are always, those rappers I just named, Just Ice, Boogie Down Productions, Public Enemy, Eric B. and Rakim, they're always gonna give a lot of praise to Run DMC. Maybe praise might not be a good word because that's usually used for a god, but Run DMC is definitely the takeoff point for a lot of the rap music that has been heard along the East Coast for maybe not the last 10 years, but the previous 20 years. Now, after the Run DMC, like I said, came Eric B. and Rakim and LL Cool J, can't forget him. But that was a golden era of rap. That was a golden era, completely golden. And so shortly after that era, mind you now, I'm not even talking about different regions. I'm keeping it on the East Coast now because this is where this hip hop stuff really got started on the East Coast. So after Run DMC era, you have Eric B. and Rakim era and BDP and PE. Shortly after that, you have Nas, who was Nasty Nas at that time. Then you get Jay-Z coming through. Then you get Biggie coming through. Then you get Mobb Deep coming through. Then you get the Boot Camp Clique. So now these are groups that dominated the East and actually brought the East Coast back, because after that initial era, the West Coast started to get hip to the game. So we had NWA who came in and they started making a lot of noise in the hip hop scene. And from NWA came not just Snoop, but let's go one before Snoop, came the DLC. If you guys were really tuned into hip hop for the last even 20 years, even 15 years, you should know who the DLC is. He was an NWA member. He was from Texas. He was like a California implant, and he gave NWA a lot of credibility because not everybody on the East Coast was feeling NWA because, come on, quite frankly, we called them country. They had jerry curls, their style was different, they always dressed in black, everything was nigga, nigga, nigga this, you know. They were one of the main groups that kind of put positive rap on the back burner and made gangster rap very popular. The fact of the matter is that when California rap became popular, it was looked at as more fun than East Coast rap. It wasn't as message oriented. It was a lot more partying bullshit, smoking the best weed, hanging out in the low riders, riding around, you know, California, seeing scantily clad beautiful women in palm trees. And this was this was the DLC. Then along comes Snoop. He was probably the chief spokesman for the entire California laid-back movement. He was syrupy smooth, he could flow, and he was just different, and he took the world by storm. And Snoop really got into a lot of East Coast rappers' heads. And then Tupac, who was actually more versatile than Snoop because he could be very self-conscious and very socially conscious, or he could rap about just the purely leisurely things. So the East Coast found themselves in a bit of a quandary. You know, they wanted to make the same money that the West Coast rappers were making, and they felt that they were lyrically a lot much better, but these West Coast rappers had these enormous record sales. So in my opinion, that compromised what the East Coast rappers, what their mission was. You know, the record execs on the East Coast start telling the rappers on the East Coast, hey, you gotta start rapping like this. Your beats need to be more like that. You know, they need to sound more like Dr. Dre's beats, you know. You need to stop being so socially, politically aware in your raps and start being more leisurely. So these are the things that I think have helped shape today's rap, because today's rap is largely looked at as kind of frivolous, you know, when you consider the plight that a lot of black people live under today. So, you know, rap has changed and it's still changing. From the rise of West Coast rap music, that opened up regional rap. Other markets, other regions around the country were able to create their own brands of rap music. So they didn't have to, at one point it was East Coast and West Coast rap. And I think a few states I think most of the country actually followed West Coast rap because East Coast rap is more difficult to understand and it's not as encompassing or accepting. So like, for instance, if you're not from New York, you just don't get credit for being from New York, whereby the California rappers, they weren't holding you to the standard of being from LA or being from California. Therefore, they had a lot more fans and they weren't looked at as bandwagon fans. It was like rap music on the West was kind of made for most of the other country outside of the East Coast. So you got the Midwest, Common, for instance. He was one of the first Midwestern rappers that anybody that the East Coast kind of recognized as being a legitimate rapper. You got the Dirty South, the Outkast were definitely one of the earliest groups that, I think a lot of people around the country, particularly people on the East Coast, really appreciated their contributions to hip hop. So you got the Dirty South, you got the Midwest, you got the East Coast, and you got the West Coast, and that's pretty much the entire country if you break it down. There are fans in North Dakota that are probably following West Coast rap. Fans in down south following a lot of the up in the Northeast rap. A lot of the fans in the Northeast are following Dirty South rap, and people like Midwest rap. It's like now rap has become larger than just two coasts. I don't look at rap today as regional as much as I look at it as a formula. You have to have a certain sound. You have to sound like Drake or Lil Wayne, or have that certain cadence, or have that little twang in your voice, or even allow the studio to mess with your voice a little bit, auto tunes, whatever. Today, to me, rap is a formula. It doesn't matter where you're from. It's good to see rappers from other coasts coming together to make music. And I think that is a testament to the fact that rap isn't regional as much as it is just a certain formula. And which brings me to today's rap, because I think today's rap gets a bad rap, and some of it is well-deserved and some of it is a bit unfair. So just let me say, after we saw the Biggie Tupac fiasco, East Coast hating the West Coast, West Coast hating the East Coast, two of the greatest rappers of all time dead, rap struggled in the few years after that to regain a positive image. And the bottom line is, I don't know that rap has ever fully regained that image, because what sells today is still what many of the original hip hop fans consider to be frivolous music that it lacks substance, it lacks a message, it's very misogynistic and materialistic, and it's what our children are listening to today. So, back in the 80s, rap music was part of that village that raised your kids, and then today that you can't allow rap music to be what raises your kids. Like, if you have kids today and they're in the 13 to 20 range, you want them to always know that this is just entertainment. This is nothing for you to base your life's decisions on. And 30 years ago, you had a better opportunity in life if you did base some of your decisions on what you heard in some of the music. So what I think about today's rap music is that it has changed dramatically. It does lack some of the substance that I came up listening to, but it also it provides some opportunities, particularly for the original rap fans, to learn what is on the minds of the younger people today. What are they thinking? What motivates them? What turns them on? What do they strive for? Is it a fat rope gold chain? Because when we were coming up, that's what a lot of the listeners, that's what we wanted. We wanted the styles that they wore back 25, 30 years ago. We wanted we wanted that style. We wanted to live like the rappers back then. And there's nothing wrong with the kids wanting to live like the rappers today. It's just that the message has changed so much that you have to worry, well, how many of the kids are taking this literally? How many of the kids today are going to the club and popping bottles and talking to women any type of way because they're hearing the B word and or the N word and all of the today's raps? And it wasn't quite like that when I was growing up listening to rap music. So I think today's rap music is definitely far from perfect. It's not quite what I was listening to when I was coming up, but if you're patient enough with it and you can jump off the high horse, because definitely we rode in on a high horse when rap first came out in the 80s. That was the entire industry. The listeners, that was a euphoria, that was high. So now we kind of got to jump off that high horse and become students all over again of rap to an extent. And we have to become observers rather than just blind listeners. And I just feel that today's rap music is entertaining, but it's just not providing the same message and the same motivation that rap did in the 80s and even in the early 90s. You know, there are other rappers, like I don't think there's anybody today that can even compare to Rakim as a rapper, who I think is the greatest individual rapper of all time, the greatest MC of all time. I think Run DMC is the greatest group of all time. There are some of my favorite rappers that I had in my top 5 that I've had to take some of the rappers from what I consider to be the second era of rap and replace them. For instance, I think Mobb Deep throughout their career made better music than EPMD. Now when I tell people that from my era, they look at me like I'm crazy, but it was like, bruh, I was there at the parties when EPMD was knocking. But when Mobb Deep came along, I was no over-the-hill dude, and those guys were more influential. They changed America's inner cities on the East Coast for the worse, actually. They had 19-year-old kids walking around with fatigues, packing heat a lot of times, looking for trouble. So it wasn't that the negativity that they brought that I was attracted to, it was the power of their voice. These two young guys, Prodigy and Havoc, that's what they were. One was a prodigy and one just brought havoc on that mic. And EPMD, hey, they were smooth, they made great music, great videos. I still listen to them today, but we can't just be prejudiced against another era because we weren't 15 through 20 during that era. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm a lifelong fan of hip-hop music, rap. I'm always going to be a fan, so I'm always going to be able to look at rap music objectively and be able to, assess it in a way that I feel like is objective rather than subjective, You can't just wake up to be a rapper, There's a lot of time you put in it. I question some of today's rappers. I don't know how much time they put into it. I think many of them are getting over by saying random things in their raps. For instance, Molly, the word Molly, the drug Molly. Everybody's talking about Molly, and I'm saying I never even heard the word Cristal in as many raps as I'm hearing this word Molly. And it's like, how do you promote something negative to that extent where all the rappers are using that terminology, And I'm wondering, are the record execs, are the label execs telling these rappers your record will sell better if you use the word Molly? So I just think today's rap, a lot of it's going to be who's in charge of the music, who's in charge of the industry, you know what I mean? Like the rappers themselves can't necessarily change rap because they don't have the power. One of the big differences between rap music today and rap music 25, 30 years ago was that rap music today, it saturates the market. It saturates the airwaves. Everything is Drake, Weezy, 2 Chainz, Meek Mill, whereby back in the day, you had to make an effort to get rap music. If you didn't have it on vinyl or if you didn't have it on a cassette, this was even before CDs, then you had to have your ear by the radio at certain hours of the evening. Even as as late as Stretching Bobito. And I was, out of high school by then. I was a young man, but I used to wait up 1 o'clock in the morning, and I think it was 89.9 or whatever, listen to Stretching Bobito and get some exclusives. And today, it's just not like that. Rappers are rarely freestyling. They're really giving that radio exclusive. It's just a different era. I feel that back in the day, rap was catch it, or you're gonna miss it. Like you never wanted to miss it. Today, you can't miss it. For instance, I haven't listened to Meek Mill album almost at all. I've seen one video and I've only seen some of that. Kendrick Lamar, he's a rapper, singer who's kind of popular these days, and if I saw him, I probably wouldn't even be able to tell you who he is. Not that I don't follow today's rap, it's just that it doesn't command me to follow it. It doesn't force me to follow it. I'll never forget, I was a kid and I was listening to the radio station, one of the radio stations. Back then they even had 92 KTU, and I was listening to the radio station and then I heard this. Well, it's creative, creating the rhyme, devastator, not doing the crime, making beats every day and not get mine, big star going far, so check the time. Big winning out of center when I do my thing, I might have swing in the fling cause I'm down with the king, big rap, no crap, I do not sing, you want a show, let me know, just give me your ring, I take a stand, my man, cause I won't sit, and I'm the real deal, like Coke is it, and then you won't find my name on the yellow page, cause Run only speaks when he's on the stage. Boom. I said, whoa, what was that? That was DJ Run freestyling on the radio? And then it must have been a year later that they slowed that version down and put it on their Raising Hell album. I was a senior in high school. And by the time that came out, I said, guys, I heard this rap before and I heard it on a live exclusive on the radio and nobody even believed me. But like, those moments are few and far between for me today. And I'm willing to bet that even to today's most avid rap fan, the biggest listeners, they have yet to feel that straight euphoria that I felt 25, 30 years ago listening to rap music. So what I'm really trying to say is rap music just ain't the same no more, It's a different era, different time, different people, different listeners, different people running the industry, and it's never going to be like it used to, and I think it's for the worse, but to each his own. This is Shawn Aiken signing out, aka Snake Aiken, aka Snake Plissken. Never escape. Peace. And by the way, just in case you think I'm some passive listener, fake connoisseur, fake know-it-all, rap guru, I got lyrics. Anybody want to battle, just call me out. I'm Snake Aiken. You know how to get in touch with me already. You know how to see me. I got a video out, Chilluminati. That's the name of the group. It's called Blunt Force. You want to hear a little sample? Check it. Stash the green tops in my high top Reeboks. Word the cops got high in the block, I ain't get knocked. Rough like Schwartz and nigga got jigged in the liver. Living weights, puffin' loud, wasn't getting no bigger. I can't teach my old new tricks. Got more tricks than Mixoplex with them $5 hits. Yo, Dave, you hellified nigga and shit. And you feel the rap aftermath, never forget. Never sympathetic, compathetic. It ain't copacetic, y'all don't really want static. I ran over the curve, yo, I still get my swerving. That's enough. Check out the video.